YouTube? We are here with another, and I mean another deck profile featuring our, I'm sorry, I can't talk, our favorite sponsored player, Travis Faye. What's good, man?
I'm great.
Alright, and what's the deck profile we doing today?
Class in session. It's math.
Alright, we're about to teach everybody. Alright, let's hop into it.
Well, obviously the one card that makes this deck playable now. This card is so good. It's so good. Like any hand where you see this card just feels so powerful because he just plays through so much. So I mean, if people don't know, he's like Magician's Souls for Mathmech. You can dump one to summon him from your hand, and importantly, if you use that effect, only one monster can attack that turn. But it doesn't say how many times they can attack, so that's kind of important. And then, if another Mathmech is summoned, he can add a Mathmech Flurry Trap, which makes the Super Factorial combo super consistent. And this effect, Search, also helps you play through stuff too. Going second, it can add the Reborn spell. Going first, it adds the OG Revolt. That is much better. So complementary. The other really good Mathmech is this. Most people play less than 3, but I think it's important to play 3 because you really want to open them. He's not an extender turn 1. He's like the Debris Dragon for Mathmechs. But him plus addition or subtraction is very, very good because it makes your play insulated through a hand trap. He gives any Mathmech Synchro or Exceed the effect to omni-negate something the turn they were made using this card. So he's very good going second to help play through negates, and going first he protects you from hand traps to make sure that you get all your necessary searches and stuff. And then this is the other kind of like main engine one. I only play 2 of this because you don't really want to have to like start your turn by activating his effect because you're going to need more extenders if you do that. And generally, you don't really want to see him that much. He's nice to discard off Silent Mining, but other than that, he's mostly just there to be dumped off him. But he is very good. He's just free Reborn from the grave as long as you have nothing in your extra monster zone. But other important thing, all the Mathmechs like this, addition and subtraction, all lock you into Cyberse, so the extra deck's all Cyberse, so it's kind of important to know. Then after that, the extenders, so I play 3 of each. Very, very good turn 1, helps you play through interruption. Some people will like if you open circular, some people will DD Crow or Bell the Sigma effect, and then you can just activate this and you're good. You still have combo. And going second, these help you do like some OTKs, like him whenever you're pumping up another monster to attack, and then this can help you decrease a monster low enough to be Final Sigma. And then the 2 Final Sigma cards. So this card's kind of good, even if you don't play Final Sigma. But this card is only if you play it. So a lot of people don't play this combo anymore. But I think it's actually really good because a lot of people don't really expect you to be playing it, so they're not really too concerned. As long as your opponent has a monster with 2,000 or less attack and attack mode, being able to summon these 2 is an OTK because Final Sigma will have 6,000 attack and attack over it. Or even if they have monsters with higher attack, making the Final Sigma can attack twice, so you might be able to OTK through that. But he's kind of good if you have to dump him off of circular, and then like Allen Merchant Reborn him in tribute. Sometimes you don't have enough names, and he's basically 2 Mathmech names instead of the 3 for the trap card. So these are the Mathmech cards. Basically the goal in the deck's opening hand is either you open this, or you're opening 2 Mathmechs, including one of these 8. Preferably like these 2, because then you won't be able to be hand trapped. By 1 anyway. And after that, the only other Cyberse I play is a Microcoder. Okay. So he's really nice because he can search the counter trap. I don't play Code Talker, I just play the standard Transcode and Heat Soul. So this card is awesome when you discard it off Silent Mining because the Splash Mage can revive it and then get you the free counter trap. But with the standard combo, this also makes it to where you have Transcode plus Heat Soul. So you'll have your turn 1 board will have the counter trap plus the Super Factorial, so that the counter trap protects the Super Factorial and makes sure it resolves. So because most of the time when the Super Factorial resolves and you actually get to use the effect, it's pretty much game over. So having the counter trap, make sure that it goes through, is very, very powerful. And then going second, it helps you make access code from your hand. And then that's the Mathmech monsters. And then for hand traps, so there's Nib, Gamma, Bell, Ogre, and Ash. Nib is actually kind of really good in this deck because what you want to do is, you know, you can have your opponent playing a Nib, even though you have like your Heat Soul, you draw cards, and then like you don't really care about anything on your board, so you just throw Nib at them, and then if you still have the trap card, you can make sure that the Nib ends their turn, or alternatively, if you flip the trap card, and even if your Laplacian doesn't stop them from playing, once they like overcommit, you can, even if they like start putting up negates and stuff, you can Nib them and then negate it with the Laplacian. So this card's really nice because, you know, with all the draws off Heat Soul, you want to draw really impractical cards. These are just kind of generally good. Ogre, because people still play the adventure cards mostly, and it's decent against, like against Tier, you can hit Dragostapella, because Dragostapella has to be on the field to actually make sure the card's negated. And against, there's no shortage of cards you can Ogre against the Splight deck, so this card's generally good. And then Bell's also decent because it can negate DD Crow, which is very important for this deck because Laplacian requires 3 Mathmechs, so if they DD Crow one of your targets, you'll only be able to make Alan Burstyn, which is not going to be able to do much, but this can make sure that it goes through. And then it's just generally good against the other decks too, like it can negate, it can sometimes negate Toad, it can negate Elf, obviously it negates a ton of cards against the Tier deck. Ash it's kind of not that great this format, I mean it's decent. But it's just one of the general best cards you can draw off Heat Soul. So.
I got you.
And then Gamma, obviously this conflicts with Heat Soul, like you can't use this if you draw Heat Soul, but sometimes they clear the Heat Soul before they force you to use the trap card, so you'll be able to Gamma them, even though you had a monster. But Gamma's just one of the best hand traps right now. I just felt like you kind of had to play it. Gamma's also like really amazing when you, because if someone else has Gamma, if you go to activate Circular, a lot of people will Gamma you right there, so you can Gamma them back. Also, when you activate Sign of Mining or Pot of Desires, you can Gamma the Ash. Very good hand trap.
So I remember you mentioned like with the Gold Spell, you use it to like negate DD Crow. On that, why aren't you running Crow yourself?
I cite it. I was playing Crow before, but I want to play Gamma instead. I just feel like all these other hand traps just have more versatility. You know, Crow is decent against the Splight deck, and obviously it's good against the Tier deck, but against like other stuff, it doesn't really have that much coverage. So, I mean, obviously this is mostly a 2-deck format, but this deck was also kind of made for locals in a way. So
okay, fair
don't
enough.
really play against that deck that much.
Alright, so you weren't afraid of like having the nib against like the Tier decks then?
I mean, you can still sometimes nib the Tier deck if they go too far. But yeah, it's kind of this is mostly just like general coverage stuff around here. But still pretty decent. So then, obviously, you have to play this card as Cypress deck. It does hurt to discard a card a lot of the times, but it's very much worth it to get to Circular. I'm actually not playing Small World in this deck. Instead of playing Desires, a lot of people don't play both. I think Desires is better. For the most part, you don't really care about banishing anything in your deck except like 3 of the best cards. So
yeah, well, you do have a lot of 3-0s in your deck, makes sense.
And also, Small World being in this deck is very. Once it gets rolling, you get so many cards. But like before the deck starts working, you can't really be. It very much hurts to have to discard cards or. Small World has to banish something you may have actually wanted. Obviously, it's great to search for another Circular, but I find this deck pretty consistent as is, so I haven't felt the need to play Small World. But it may change in the future.
Fair enough.
And then the Reborn spell. Usually, this is what you search going second when you're trying to OTK. Also, this can out stuff like if your opponent makes Winda. This is one of the few cards in your deck that can actually out it besides Subtraction sometimes, which isn't even always, because this can just Reborn the Exceed, and it gives 1,000 attack, you can stack over it, and then call by because it's just good. Kind of just good card. And then I play 2 of the trap card. Most people only play 1, but I think 2 is really good because generally what happens is you make your board, you stop them with this card and like some hand traps, and then you OTK them. But it doesn't always happen. Or sometimes, you know, you flip the first one and it gets DD crowed. And you don't have a way to stop it. And the game's not over. So having another one to make sure, because I do play 2 Laplation for it. This card is just, and also it's good to draw because, I mean, obviously if your hand's brick, then it's not good to draw, but if your hand's like playable, they're gonna want to negate the effects that search for this card, and if you just already have it, then that's totally fine. And then I also play the Induction. It's just good because if you draw this card, you can search for this card also, so now you have like 2 interruptions guaranteed. And generally this is enough to stop someone's turn. Also, this is like a main deck out to Mystic Mind. And sometimes, in certain niche scenarios, this lets you OTK easier because it gives all your monster power to attack. And the counter trap, very, very good. It's also call by, so whenever you negate, you really want to think about that whenever you negate a certain card, like what cards you negate. So it's really awesome to negate stuff like the tier cards, because you'll negate like their like Sharon's effect from the hand, or Happiness effect from the hand, or Meryl when they summon it, and then even if they mill it later, they still can't use it. So it's just really, really good in that regard. And this insulates like your plays. Also, one thing that comes up a bit with playing this with microcoder, sometimes I can't make access code with the double attack. So, but I use it to like clear their board, and I make it with microcoder to search this. So, like, access code's a code talker, so you'll be able to set it, and then you'll have a counter trap for their turn. These are just really nice. I like main decking Rivalry, but I cut it right now because at locals it doesn't really do anything against anyone. So, but in a tournament I would mean Rivalry. So extra deck. I play 3 of this guy. So, and I also play 2 of this guy. So, I don't play Link Disciple and Link Devotee. I think that line's like not the best because it gets super polyed, and it requires you to play a lot of cards in your extra deck for it. And I don't really like that. I kind of like having lots of flex spots in the extra deck. So, this allows me to play like 2 of this and 3 of this and some other stuff. 3 of this is very good, especially against tier, because you're not really making this guy against tier, so you need something else. So like typically you'll make 1 on your first turn. Post game 1, you'll make this with the Super Factorial Search for Skullmeister, and then you're gonna make this again on your next turn. So having 3 of them is very helpful in that matchup, and this is just a very good card to help your grind game. And then 2 of this guy. You also, even if I was only playing 1 Super Factorial, I would still play 2, because sometimes you make this dude on their turn, but then you're gonna want to make another one on your turn, like hard make it without the trap. It's non-targeting removal. It's very important to out certain monsters. So yeah, I really like this. I definitely wouldn't change this. And then I'm actually playing both synchros right now. Okay. Obviously I play this because of the multiplication. This dude's not very standard, and I was just trying him out. I made him a few times. He's kind of good. He floats if he dies, and he just, when he destroys a monster by Valley, can pop 2 cards. In certain like scenarios, he can be good to clear a board. But one of the nice things about him that I really like, the reason why I wanted to play him, is sometimes you just need something more offensive than like making this guy, because you may not need the search in that moment. So like, let's say I go like normal diameter and reborn a dude, and then just immediately make this guy. Now he has the negate. Okay. And then that also, the negate makes this dude a lot more powerful at breaking a board, because like he can attack over stuff, pop, and still be able to negate anything that stops him from trying to do that. Diameter's effect doesn't negate activation, so you can't use it in the damage step, which kind of sucks, but having that negate makes sure that this dude can actually attack and actually use the effect.
Let's see. Anyway, continue whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Also, talk about this guy real quick. One of the cool things that comes up with him is that he's unaffected. So even if you make this guy, and your opponent's able to like do some battle phase shenanigans to make sure that he doesn't OTK them, he's unaffected, so he can be pretty hard to deal with. If you make this against like the Flunder deck that can't out it, and like if you summon him and you have Nib, he won't get tributed by Nib, so that's really sick. Only other thing though is unaffected by stuff except Mathmech cards, so that actually means in the mirror, like they can use this guy to out him and stuff like that. So that's weird, but he catches a lot of people off guard if they don't know about the OTK. You know, you can just swing over like Elf and stuff like that. So links, only link when I play is Lingerevo. Just good against the trap decks, like if you're playing like the mirror, or even against like the tier deck, if you can just like summon a dude and then make this guy, if they didn't want to, like if they didn't immediately activate Meta Noise or Sulik, you can just do this, and then he banishes the card also, so it makes sure it doesn't trigger the effect. And it's obviously good against like Eldritch and stuff like that. So I play double Splash Mage because sometimes you make like one turn one and then you want one for when you OTK. So that's really nice. Just a very good card. Update Jammer to make either transcode or access code OTK. These two is usually how you're OTKing, but you know, sometimes when your opponent just leaves a dude, you can do that. So this is what you're making turn one. You make this guy to search for diameter for your next turn, and then you have this to draw two. Very, very good. Also, this dude, randomly, he can't be destroyed with valid card effects, so sometimes that matters. This dude, he's a Cyber's deck, so obviously you're gonna play him, and then Cyber's deck, obviously, good card. Not much to say about that. Since I'm playing multiplication, also, you can actually use multiplication on this guy after you boost him by this, so that'll be 10,600 attack.
Oh, really?
So sometimes you can OTK like that. But it's awkward to do that because you have to hold circular until you've already made this, which is, you know, sometimes not possible, but it is a thing you can do. Or if you make him, like, you have multiplication on your board, use this to reborn one of your dudes, and then turn multiplication and this into this. And then that also makes sure that the multiplication effect can't be like negated, which obviously it's not going to get negated, but you never know, it could.
Fair enough.
Either way, that's the extra deck. Like I said, I don't really like the Link Devotee, Link Disciple line. It gets you more interruptions by it lets you have IP to turn into Unicorn or Underworld Goddess or whatever you want to make. But I feel like this card is just better to go for most of the time because you can draw hand traps or engine cards. Obviously, sometimes you just get fucked by drawing just Mathmech cards. Your hand is all Mathmech cards, and all you have is the trap, and your opponent plays through it and kills you anyway. But
so you would rather just have the Hiso instead? Yeah,
for the most part. Also, like I said, the Disciple Devotee stuff, it takes up a lot of extra deck spots. Like I feel like I use almost all the cards in my extra deck most games. Not literally all of them in one game, but almost every card in this extra deck comes up. And it's also nice because you can grind a lot more because you play 3 of this and 2 of this and multiples of this card. So if I use it because to make sure your board doesn't get negated or doesn't get hand trapped, you have to leave this dude on the board for your whole turn, so you can't like link with them or anything. So that's why you make one of these turn 1 and one of these later. But that gives me room to play another one of this and all that stuff. But yeah, that's the extra deck. And then side with the one Skullmeister for the tier matchup. So you search, like I said, you search that off of this guy. You make this off the trap instead of this because this is just going to send tier cards and they're all going to trigger and you're going to look like an idiot. So you just search this guy. You just search this guy off this. You can negate one of their grave effects. And you negate off that, and that's usually close to enough. I was maining this card because tier is kind of a popular matchup, but I cut it because it doesn't really do anything against Blight and all that. Funny thing though, if you open addition, you can normal this guy, special either addition or subtraction, and that's combo.
Okay.
So he's not always like a break, but I did that like once, but it doesn't really come up much. 80 Crow, obviously just a decent card against the tier deck, and it's okay against Blight. Played this and this. Anti-spell's scary right now, so it's hard to want to play this card, but it's just so powerful. Like a lot of the tier decks are citing like skill drain and stuff like that, and this deck can't really handle that. So, and also the stuff like Eldritch, like this deck has a terrible trap matchup, so you kind of have to just play stronger cards for that. This card is just because a little more flexibility. I don't really like Duster too much. I like this card because it can hit the attack mode stuff. This usually forces out, like this makes it good against Splite because people will put Toad in attack mode obviously, so you can evade this and force out Toad. And anti-spell and rivalry. These cards are amazing to draw off Heat Soul. A lot of times you can getting that draw 2 turn 1, maybe even Desires too. Like drawing one of these cards can usually seal a game, especially if you can back it up with a trap, the conflict. So you can have a board of like one of these and like this. I mean, I've even had games where my end board is like this. That's really hard. That's really hard for most decks to play through. But yeah, it is a lot of floodgates to be siding. And most people would say you should only play 3, but I find that you really want to play both of these because this card is good going first and second against a lot of decks.
Right.
And this is kind of like an exclusively going first card, so I feel like it's kind of justified. Like this card just kind of dunks on all the best decks right now. Like against Pure Element, you flip it when if they summon Rhino Heart first. Against the Splite deck, if they summon one of the wonky attribute type cards, you can just flip this. Against Exo Sister, this card is an FTK because the extra deck Monster Warriors and the main decks are Spellcasters. And yeah, I don't know. I just think this card's really good right now. So.
It is definitely a good card right now. You're right about that, Travis. You're right about that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it.
Alright. Any shout outs you'd like to give before we head out?
Luck&Chuck for putting my face on their channel. And Kobe standing next to me for existing.
Alright, appreciate the deck profile,